Well, alrighty then. Welcome to ASL StarBow $50 King of the Hill show matches. My lovely co-caster here is Ziphius. I am Drenok, and just wondered how you doing today, Ziphius.
I'm doing fantastic. I've been looking forward to casting. I haven't been able to cast StarBow for such a long time, and finally coming back to cast StarBow and with the ASL guys is I'm super hyped for this. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, same. I'm also really excited to cast some Starbow. We did do a couple test casts yesterday to just see kind of how that would run, and it seemed to go really well. And yeah, I'm incredibly excited. And just wanted to say that Ziphius, my lovely co-caster here, is one of the developers of Starbow, so he's quite knowledgeable, and he's had a lot of fun making it because this is kind of his thing, his baby to work on.
It's my little baby. Man, I was StarBow quite recently got released from its beta stage. It was like a month ago or so now, maybe a little bit more. And I remember typing up the Reddit post to say we released, and I got a little teary-eyed because we've been working on this thing for so long. It was like letting my baby go. It was amazing. So yeah, definitely my baby.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's always fun when you get to the end of everything you've worked towards. And yes, it's like getting masters or grandmasters, depending on how aspiring you are to StarCraft and how much you really love it. But yes, lots of really cool stuff. Now, today we're gonna have a PVZ. It's gonna be France Car or France Car, or I think I said it the same way both times, but France Car, the Protoss versus Myralt the Zerg. So some classy names here, a little bit of deviation from the normal names. But what are your opinions on these two players and just PVZ overall in ASL and sorry in Starbow?
It's like people may not have heard these names before, but in Starbow community, both Franskar and Mirault are really strong Starbow players. Mirault actually has won the two last big events that we've had in a row, beating Korean pros on his way there. And Fraskar's just been consistently performing well in every single Starbow tournament he's been in. He's winning a lot of them. Won one of the first big ones we had. So um, I'm expecting great games from these two.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like it will be really cool games. And like you were saying, they have beat Korean pro players. Now, these are truly Korean pro players, not something like Starbow pro players, but truly Korean pro players and really good players. Like, I believe Arthur was one of them. I know you had a couple other ones, but off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
Mirault beat Mamori two tournaments ago in the semifinals, and Mamori is on Team Dust and pretty good. I think both players are ready to go. Should we just start up the game?
I assume so, as long as our observer and them are ready. I guess not them. We have Bacon and all right, we will be getting into game one really shortly, but just wanted to give a shout out to, I guess, the channel we're on right now, Bacon Infinity. We had some technical difficulty, but it did finally, we were finally able to resolve it by going onto their channel, and they are our observer and streamer. So thank you so much, guys, but we're going to be getting into game one. I don't know if we have a quick little intro video, but I'm
Oh,
guessing not. We do? Okay, cool. All right, guys, we'll see you in just a couple seconds after a quick intro video for our first game of this best of seven on High Sparrow. Welcome back, everyone, to ASL's StarBow, or really StarBow. I don't know quite how to say that yet, what we're going for, but This is High Sparrow in the first game, the best of 7. I'll let my lovely co-caster do the first introduction.
All right, in the bottom right corner on this great map, playing as the very manly pink, it is Franskar.
And his opponent in the top left-hand corner, it is the Orange Zerg player, Myrolt.
And Marl, being a Swede, we've actually seen a lot of Swedish StarBow players do really well. There's at least 3 really high-level Swedish StarBow players. 4 if you include Morrow, but of course he plays mostly StarCraft 2, but Morrow has been playing a lot of StarBow from time to time, and hopefully after a couple of these King of the Hill events, we might be able to get him to be one of the challengers as well.
Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of high-level players that have shown interest in StarBow, so it's really cool to see that. But just to point out something on this map, if you could explain, a lot of the StarBow maps are generally, well, number one, they're a little bit bigger, but the middle of them is much more defined as a middle of the map, much like Brood War. But how does it really affect gameplay?
It's quite interesting. You have like the middle is basically like I would say the battleground for most of the StarBow maps. And it's wide and it's big and it's open. You have a lot of units in StarBow that are really, really good at defending, really good at setting up a position. You have a very strong siege tank. You have a very strong High Templar with 112 damage storm. You have lurkers and so on, and reavers. So if we had a lot of chokes, and I would kind of say how do we call this in StarCraft 2? We call it as a syndrome. It has like the hallway syndrome. Like you have these hallways all over the place, which you kind of have to have in StarCraft 2. But in StarBow, if you had that, all these space control units would be just super powerful. You could never really flank them, and it would be impossible to play on. So you really need this big, wide open areas to fight on. And at the same time, the maps don't really have a lot of expansions towards the middle, expansion towards your opponent. You usually expand towards the edges, so that your attack path and your expansion path are different, which opens up for some more dynamic gameplay.
Yeah, definitely. There is some really cool dynamic gameplay, a lot of it depending on unit positioning, and some just cool battles that can happen in StarBow. But it looks like for Franskar, he's going for a Forge Fast Expand. I love seeing that's still viable as a Protoss player myself, and goes for a full scout. Now, both players have scouted each other. Sadly, Myrolt was not able to get into the main at all of Franskar, but I mean, he saw as a Forge Fast Expand, you kind of have an idea of what's going on. And in StarBow, it is only 1 gas in the main, so it's not like you're not going to go in and check, hey, is it 1 or 2 gas? It's only 1 either way, and they're probably going to have taken it unless they're doing something really wacky.
Once in a while, though, you see players only have 1 or 2 workers in gas, and that's nice to check for. We also see Myrolt going for a very early third base, which is quite normal versus Protoss, especially if they're Forge Fast Expanding, which is basically very standard in StarBow, what you're seeing from both sides right now. I'd also like to point out that this is, like we said earlier, a best of 7 show match, but it's not only a show match, it's also a King of the Hill, which means that the winner of this best of 7 will stay till next month, and we're going to get a new challenger. I think we already have set up a Terran challenger called Moxie Legend for next month already. So so this is going to be like an ongoing series of challengers, so hopefully it will be very exciting.
Yeah, it definitely will be. Each time you'll have 1 player you saw previously and a new challenger, so you get to follow the story of these players a little bit. But for now, it actually, Myrolt's third base, coming up, getting a good economy up, and actually is going for a pretty quick layer. So I'm intrigued to see how he's going to, or sorry, not a quick layer, but he will be going for layer before really making anything else to defend. But obviously, Forge Fast Expanding for Franskar is not really the most aggressive play. But both players for now, I mean, they're pretty much on, they're going for much more economic builds, but interestingly enough, Franskar is sending over 1 early Zealot, which, I mean, it's going to really depend on how the micro and how many lings Myrolt's going to have to be forced out.
This is a very interesting opener that both players are doing. We see Myrolt going for the very early Spire, which is actually quite standard and not necessarily for Mutalisks. A lot of the times you just want to have the early Scourges because it's so common to go for Corsairs to kill Overlords in StarBow, like it was in Brood War. And the Scourges do very well versus the early few numbers of Corsairs. At the same time, Franskar, very interestingly, is taking to Stalkers, and he's getting the ranged upgrade for them. And this is not that common in PvZ. We see it sometimes, it's a nice little build you can do, but Stalkers by themselves in StarBow are very, very fragile, although they're very mobile, so you can't really... You can go for them for a while, but you can't really stay on them for too long.
Oh, 3 Lings do get into the natural base of Franskar, but the starting worker's a little bit more powerful than StarCraft 2 and are able to push that off. Now, like you were saying, Stalkers are much more fragile but a lot more mobile, and Stalkers actually do start off with Blink, and so it's really cool, and it's just a really cool thing to get up to, but as you're mentioning, they are very weak, so he's got to be careful, but Franskar will be moving out of the map, and Myrold spots this. He's as a lovely Ling spread going around the map and does spot it, and will be pulling back, and now is pumping out 7 Hydralisks and a couple actually Scourges, so it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to use these.
Scourges will probably be mostly for just scouting, but the Hydras are a really good choice right here. A lot of new StarBow players make Speedlings versus Stalkers, which is actually a not so good of idea, because as you can see, the Stalkers are much faster in StarBow than they are in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, they are much faster. Now, Myrold actually, he's got a couple of Hydralisks now, 5 Hydralisks versus 3 Stalkers and a Zealot. And as you're saying, if these Stalkers can kite, they're going to be able to slowly whittle down the Hydra numbers. But again, they're very weak, and Franskar has to be careful, the same as in StarCraft 2. If the Protoss player loses his entire army right there, the Zerg's going to be able to remax much quicker and just push a lot more aggressively. But now, as you were kind of talking about earlier on, the middle of the map is truly becoming the battleground.
Indeed it is. And we also see, very interestingly, Franskar getting that upgrade. Oh, hold that thought though, because Hydralisks are pushing these Stalkers back.
Yeah, the Hydralisk will push the Stalkers back, but actually, interesting enough, not even back, kind of push them forward into the natural base of Myrold. How's this going to work out? I feel like it's going to work out much better for Myrold. There is 1 cannon, 2 more cannons coming up, and a couple Stalkers, but this is a lot of Hydralisks. And actually, if you look at the upgrades really quickly, these Hydras do have Hydra speed, I think? Actually, they both have range and speed.
Yeah, range is soon to be complete, and speed is already there, but a nice little surround there with the Stalkers, and he might be able to deal with these Hydras just fine.
Yeah, it looks like he will be able to deal with them with that very nice surround, as we've mentioned in StarBow positioning, same as in Brood War, is really big, and I really love that with StarBow. But now we're seeing, again, just Franskar being incredibly aggressive, moving across the map again, and interestingly enough, Myrold is on a 4th base. Now your main and natural are pretty close, and then your 3rd is far away and your 4th. This seems like it's a little bit greedy from Myrold.
Well, he's trying, yeah. He might be playing a little bit greedy here, but on the other hand, he's putting Franskar on a clock where Franskar has to do damage. And very soon, Franskar, yeah, he just completed an upgrade, which allows the Stalkers to see up the high ground, and he really wanted to sneak into the main right there, but Myrold stopped him with those Hydras and forced him back again.
Yeah, he was stopped by those Hydras, and now the Hydras are starting to get into a little bit more dangerous numbers. These Stalkers are all very low on health, and a couple of them only have 1 or 2 health left, and they will stop to pick up 1 Hydra and blink back. And now, as you're mentioning, this is Franskar's a clock on his life, and will lose a couple Stalker, actually only 1 Stalker right there because of some mismanagement, but now almost the entire map Myrold has control of very nicely, and Franskar knows he needs to get damage done, but all these Hydras are on full health, and they're only going up, actually, interesting enough, to Lurker. That's an interesting decision, but as you're saying, it's very good for just area defense.
We see Stalkers now harassing this base, which is very nice for Franskar, getting that little pick off. That's what he really wanted out of these Stalkers. We also see him adding on a lot of Zealots and High Templars, which is really something you need. These Stalkers will not be a very strong unit for an army composition, so it's a very good decision of him to transition out of that composition right now.
Yeah, beautiful. Franskar will get up into the main and spots the lair, which is kind of assumed here, but actually will be able to teleport them back home if no one knew. Unlike me the first time I was casting, the Nexuses the Nexi can teleport back home.
Yeah, it was quite nice. But yeah, Franskar is going up for an interesting composition. In StarBow, you can actually stay on 2 base as a Protoss for quite long and still get a really strong push going. That's basically what he's going for there. He wants a strong... he has almost +2 complete attack, and he wants to go for a really strong High Templar push, try to kill at least one of the bases of Myrold, and then establish a 3rd base of his own.
Oh, big storms do go down, and that destroys a lot of the Lings of Myrold, but the Hydras are still on the way, and actually, a lot of those Hydras were turned into Lurkers are on complete retreat, and beautiful, and Overlord will be sniped on the right-hand side, but now Myrold is actually the best defense is a good offense. That's kind of what he's doing right here in the middle of the map, setting up a little area where he can push back Franskar from his 4th base.
Now, Myrold, every time I see him play lately, he's been particularly good at deflecting storms. Like, of course, like every Zerg player, once in a while you're going to get a bad storm in your face, but he's very good at like baiting out storms with small groups, spreading out, and hopefully we can see that today as well.
Yeah, hopefully these lurkers do go down. Three are down, or actually only one is down. A couple more are trying to get down, but the storms go down and just kill them really easily. And almost this entire battle, or sorry, this entire army for Myralt was pushed back right there. Beautiful storms on top of the lurkers that burrowed down. They didn't even allow a single lurker to get off its attack. But now the lurkers of Myralt the Hydralisks are morphing into lurkers, but right in front of the face of the Protoss army. Blings are streaming in, hoping to defend these, and just storm upon storms. Very good versus these burrowed lurkers, and a couple more lurkers are still trying to get down, but they're being killed as they try to morph in. It's looking really scary for Myralt.
I'm pretty sure Myralt was banking on Franskar not having observers when he was attacking there because he had quite an inferior force moving in there. But I think he was thinking about setting up a containment with lurkers, but Franskar was on top of everything and already had the observer complete and decimating those lurkers.
Yeah, it was even before the lurkers went down. He just started storming them, anticipating. I mean, obviously that's what's going to happen, but he may not even need the lurker right there. He's in a very nice position. Franskar now will be taking his third base, but the army of Franskar is moving up to the bottom left-hand corner, and Myralt's actually going to be kind of just pulling back into the middle of his bases, but he knows he needs to defend this. It's going to be a little scary. The Evo chamber does go down, canceling an upgrade.
Yeah, Myralt way out of position there, which is helping Franskar a lot in this engagement. He will probably be able to snipe this hatchery, which is quite nice for him.
Yeah, he does snipe that hatchery, and there's still a lot of lings left, but just the amount of Dragoons here snipe so many things easily. There is one High Templar, and has to storm itself, takes itself for the greater good, but will kill a couple things there. Two lurkers are still alive, but it's literally just all the lurkers that Myralt has made this game have not actually been able to get off any of their attacks yet. And there still is one alive, but that's not enough to defend this many Dragoons. Currently in the army of Franskar, 17 Dragoons.
Well, Myralt did something really cute there. He actually brought in an Overlord and a Scourge to snipe the observers, so that any amount of lurkers can basically hold an infinite amount of army right now because Franskar has to remake his observers. At the same time, Franskar is going for both Warp Gate technology and Warp Prisms, and I saw that he went for Warp Prism speed earlier, so he's setting up to be really mobile in the late game, that he can warp in units at multiple locations at once and try to beat his opponent that way, which is basically what you have to do as playing as a Zerg, where the Zerg is having map control.
Yeah, and the Zerg player, Myralt, is attempting to take map control, but each time he's trying to lock down specific locations with his lurkers. It is not happened because of those beautiful storms, and he finally has a decent amount of lurkers, but really he's been forced to be on the defensive while Franskar is kind of the early game was Myralt on the offensive, and now it's switched around. Franskar is on that, and like you were mentioning, Franskar is getting Warp Gate, which, just by the way, to anyone who's not used to StarBow, that does come out of Templar archives.
Yes, indeed, and we do see Myralt going for the Defiler Mound. So he's going to have Dark Swarm soon, which is really helpful versus the Dragoons, which is the main composition of what Franskar has right now. So 5 Defilers on the way and Consume. It's not going to come in time for this push, though, so he's going to have to defend with just what he's got right now.
Yeah, there's that one lurker that's standing alone. He's like, I can do this, but no, he can't. There's just no observer with the main army, sadly. He almost could have a storm there, but now Myralt is in a nice position. Oh, and the lurkers are actually a little bit indecisive where they want to burrow down, but still both players are dancing back and forth to see where they're going to push into. And Franskar is trying to push into this top base, but now actually all the lurkers are down, and there's an observer here, but barely, one observer just barely survives, but these Scourges are going after it. Dude, take out that observer. So now these lurkers should be able to get some damage down there. They start doing it, but they actually do retreat. Storm goes down beautifully. They do dodge that, but Franskar is just targeting down this hatch right here. The lurkers are being very aggressive, but just no damage has come out every single time. They eventually get down. They're eventually able to push away the army, but every time Franskar's already sniped what he needs to, and now there's actually 5 Defilers out here and a couple more on the way.
It's very interesting to see Myralt chose the defense. He's not swarming a ton of units, he's making a few key units, banking on being able to snipe those observers. And like you said, unfortunately he did lose that hatchery anyway, but the fact that he's able to defend so effectively is quite astounding.
Yeah, it is actually quite astounding. I completely agree. But now Franskar is moving in again. 3 High Templars, or actually 11 total, but 3 with this main army kind of going around. There is a lot at home for defense. But storms do go down. It's actually pushing forward through that. Myralt is, and both players, this though, kind of at a stalemate, and Myralt will burrow down. But just really quickly, explain the Defiler to anyone who hasn't seen it before, because it is not a unit in StarCraft 2.
Well, it's a spellcaster, and it can cast on the Dark Swarm, which you can see the orange cloud. And All units inside Darkstorm, whether they're enemy or friendly, cannot receive any damage from ranged attacks, but they do receive damage from Storm, though, so a lot of the times the Darkstorm is telling the Protoss player where you should storm, because that's where you want to put all your units, so it can kind of work against you sometimes, but having all these Lurkers under Storm basically makes only the Zealots and Storm to deal damage, and negates all the damage from the Dragoons.
Yeah.
The Defiler is also capable of throwing down Plague, which it has just researched, which removes all the health from units slowly and it leaves them at 1 health. So that's really strong as well.
Yeah, that is incredibly strong, especially with some sort of Ling Remax. But for now, Franskar is moving in to snipe another hatch here. The Defilers, barely are trying to get something happening. One Cloud does go down, but still there's just no damage actually happening out of Myrelt here. The Lurkers attempting to rush forward into a better position, but again and again, the army is not in the right position, and the Lurkers attempt to burrow down, but the Storms are ready, and Franskar just pushes it back. The army of Myrelt is desperately trying to push forward, but it will die, I think, in the end, and I just like to agree with you. It's amazing that, GG.
Yeah, Franskar was on 4 bases there, and a 4 base economy for Protoss versus the 3 base economy for Terran just doesn't work, and there's just no way Merald could win it from there.
Yeah, definitely the 3 base Zerg economy of Muralt was not able to pull it off, but I was going to say I'm very surprised he survived for that long, but a little bit of it was Franskar just kind of pulling back, pushing again, pulling back. He was being very careful. He did not want to overextend.
Let me get everyone back into the party here, so let me just, so we want to have Merald in here. Sorry, I'm just
No worries, no worries.
setting
Get
up
them all
everything.
in. As we were mentioning, this is a best of 7 and a King of the Hill, so the winner of this will go on to face someone in, I don't know if I want to say it's a month, but about a month. We are planning to do some more stuff on ASL, but for now, we do have this one King of the Hill, and they're all very cool, and I just got to point out, I love the maps. That's where I was going with that previous sentence where the noun didn't quite get in there, but I love the maps in StarBow. Lots of really cool things, and I like the more just big wide open areas that you can do a lot of maneuvering on, which we saw happen. Both players were in the very beginning of that game vying for the middle. They were fighting for that back and forth. But eventually, as the game went on, just again and again, the army of Myralt got reset, and because of that, Franskar just took a lot of great positioning in the middle and was able to hold that and just again and again snipe whatever he could, and it paid off really well. But I'm excited to see what game 2 will be.
They're going to be playing on a map called King Chaos, which is actually made by Superhuman. He's the same guy who made Cloud Kingdom. And the map you just saw that was High Sparrow was made by Izeal, he's made a lot of the maps that has been in the Team Liquid Clan Wars. I mean, not Team Liquid, Total Biscuit Clan Wars. So, and also made some maps that have made it into the StarCraft 2 ladder pool. So we have some very competent map makers in the StarBow community. Could you invite me to the party again?
I'm not in the party. I got booted from the party, but
Oh,
I will.
Someone invite me to party.
Okay, I'm not in it, so I will assume something weird's going on, and I'll log
Yeah, I
out
think
and log
you
back
need,
in.
yeah, I think you need to relog around.
Yep.
I'm not in the party though, for sure, for real. Oh, everyone is. Should I just make a new party?
I don't know. This is some
Oh no.
weird things with the arcade, sadly.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so Franskar is the party leader now.
Cool. Well, just invite me back. But yeah, there's some beautiful kind of pressure. What is the word I'm looking for? There was some beautiful army positioning in that past game that went down, but again, I feel like it was pretty much one-sided to Franskar was able to push many times. But I'm excited to see a game 2 and how that might change. As you said at the beginning of that previous game, both players, they were doing some really kind of unorthodox openings. So it'll be cool to see maybe a little bit more standard game and see them vie back and forth for the map control again and have a little bit more even chance of who's going to just stomp on the other person's face.
Crap, there's something wrong here. Let me leave the party and just make it without the party. And just invite you one by one. Let the party know that I haven't abandoned them completely. But yeah, actually, last game was quite standard, but Franskar was doing a really good job just keeping up the pressure. In spite of him not really getting into the face he wanted to with the multiple pronged harass state, he still was able to whittle down his opponent just fine. Okay, there we go.
Yep. Yep. All right, that works fine. Okay, just getting some information from our streamers, but yeah, trying to get back into the next game, hopefully. And I'm still not in the party, by the way, even if it says I am. I am not, and I already
Well,
logged
you
out.
don't need to be in the party. I'm just inviting you to the game, but please accept the game invitation.
Okay, got it. All right, cool. So this second match, I cannot remember who made the map, but like you were mentioning, there's a lot of incredibly gifted map makers that have come over to StarBow and said, "Cool, we're gonna tackle a little bit different of a ideology and how to make a map. Third base a little farther away, a little bit more wide open. Some really cool stuff." But this next map is King Calm, which, as you mentioned, is made by the guy who made Cloud Kingdom. So definitely a very just a very well made map.
Hmm. Sorry, I'm just having a problem getting one of the players. Yeah, King Calm is actually the map we cast that one game with Teddy Bear on yesterday. If you remember that, Drenok.
Oh yeah, I did.
So that's going to be interesting. It's quite similar to the last map we had, although the middle is a little bit different with the high ground and everything.
By the way, I'm not sure if our cameras are on us. I just got a funny image from Avex. Oh wait, never mind. Don't worry about it. Well, hopefully it'll be fixed. I got a funny image from Avex, so I'm. Yeah. Well, it's a picture of Skype chat, for instead of my camera, and it just says "sexy mage." So. It's just the name Sexy Mage. I don't know who that is. You our observers. I don't know who they have named a Sexy Mage for their roleplay or whatever. But I just like it's got to make me laugh. But game 2 is going to be on King Kong. Give us a little bit of insight on this, Ziphius.
It's give us insight. I'll try. No, King Kong is a very standard map. It's a 4-player map as well. It has the symmetry around the map like the last one had. It doesn't have the middle bases, and the middle is a little bit more broken up than the other one is, with a lot of high ground areas and such. So it's going to be interesting to see. Both the players are ready. Should we just launch into this?
I assume so, as long as Bacon is there. Yep, Bacon is in here. So
Let's do this.
we're going to see you really soon on King Kong for the second game of this best of 7. My co-caster is Ziphius. I am Drenok.
ASL StarBow. You should be watching.
Welcome back, everyone, to ASL StarBow. This is StarBow mod and a really cool gameplay, but this is the second game of the best of 7 for tonight. And in the bottom right-hand corner of King Kong, we have the pink Protoss player currently up a game in this best of 7. It is Franskar.
And in the top right corner on King Kaum from Sweden, currently down 1-0 though, but he might be able to turn that around in this game. It is Myrolt. Trying to pair up his workers, which he shouldn't, because mining doesn't work that way in StarBow, but whatever.
Well, how does mining work then, since you brought that lovely point up?
It's quite complicated, but basically the only initial workers, like 1 worker per patch, will mine with 100% efficiency. Every worker you add after that will start to give diminishing returns. It actually starts pretty brutally too, while only being about like 40% compared to.
So it's like the exact opposite as Legacy of the Void, like literally the complete exact opposite economy.
I don't know if I would call it that.
It was a joke, not really, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't said like a joke, but it was meant as a joke right there. But
what's very interesting though about our economy is that, in contrast to Legacy of the Void, both of the economy systems is encouraging mass expansion, because you only get max efficiency out of the first workers. But in StarBow, you can keep piling on workers until they have like almost 30 at 8 patches and still get a little bit for that 30th worker. Very little, but little bit. Which means that you're not forced to expand or you're going to die. because you can mine for quite a while and you can put on a lot of workers. But the player who gets away with the most expansions will always be ahead of his opponent.
Yeah, definitely. You can do some pretty cool stuff with the economy of Starbow, but for now, Franskar will get a full scout off of Myrald, but Myrald has not quite got a scout off of Franskar, but again, Franskar is opening up with a Forge Fast Expand. But these spawn positions, I feel like, allow a little bit more aggression from either player, but obviously we did not see early aggression come out of Myrald yet, but you could see some really cool aggression because they are not playing cross spawns like they were in previous game. They are a little bit closer, but this map also is a really cool map, I feel like, in the center. Just because there is a definite center, but there's the high ground, low ground, and in Starbow, like Brood War, you do have a chance of missing if you're fighting up to high ground. Or you have a chance of missing. I think I said that, yeah.
Yes, you did. That is correct. And this is interesting, like you said, with the spawn locations, because very early on, Protoss, well, overall, this is good for Protoss. It's a shorter rush distance for them. But if Myrald chooses to go for some Hydra bust plays, some more rushy plays, and this could be really good for Myrald as well. But it generally favors Zerg to be as far away from his opponent as possible. What's interesting, though, is that you see Myrald, his third base is actually a little bit unorthodox in Starbow. Usually, you'd actually want to take the very top left natural, or maybe even main base, as your third, which looks really weird from a StarCraft 2 perspective, but it's because you have these very defense-efficient units like Lurkers that can defend this area, and also if you take the natural base on the left side, top left side, you also have the main base for free with some good defense in the front. You don't really need a short distance, you just need a good choke. So his third base also has some decent, easily chokes to defend, but it's not going to get him another free base. So, but it is a little bit closer if he wants to defend with army. So it's going to be interesting to see how this develops.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. You could have some cool stuff. Maybe it was hidden, but a deviation from last game is Franskar is going into Stargate. Now, it's not an incredibly hidden Stargate. It is actually spotted by the Overlord of Myrald, and it's going to be interesting to see how Myrald reacts. He's pumping out a lot of lings. He has out on the map currently that is 18 lings, and there's actually no wall at all. A cannon is up, but there's no wall at all. Probes are being pulled now. Probes are a little stronger in Starbow, but now still it's 18 lings is going to do a lot of damage. 4 workers have gone down, and they're just targeting down whatever they can. They could actually target down the Stargate if they wanted to, but going for economy, 10 workers down. Workers from the main are, they're pulled, a little bit indecisive, and now this could actually just be GG right here. Myrald does this properly. Cannons are going down in the main, desperately trying to defend. It's a beautiful, actually, little bit of a quarter those probes can stay on, be on, but it's still just the lings doing so much damage. More lings stringing across the map. 12 more, 10 more. GG! 21 workers killed. Myrald taking game 2.
Definitely evening out the series fast, man. Yeah, I was really worried when those Zerglings coming. Franskar, he was no Zealot in there, no nothing. He really should be scouting for that and just plugging it together with a pylon there. I think there was like 2 tiles open for one pylon to complete that. So that was quick. Okay, I'm just a second.
Yeah, that was incredibly quick, and right there, there's no wall off, and I don't even know if there was an original Zealot for Franskar right there to defend, and once those lings got in, that was pretty much just GG, and it was, I feel like really what happened right there is, as I was mentioning, the Stargate, number one, it was pretty easily spotted, so my role was like, okay, he's going Stargate, not going to have that much gas. It's going to be interesting to see where he is with this. But then, on top of that, that Overlord could not quite see the wall in, but just there was nothing there. So once those lings did move in, it pretty much was, okay, you can keep being aggressive. He almost needed those lings, though, because as you were mentioning, he had a very unorthodox third base. So he kind of needed something to actually be able to defend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and it was... it's very interesting. You can do this in Starbow. Like, in Brood War, it was very common to go for like a 2-base Hydra Bust or maybe even a 2-base Zergling Flood, like you saw here. But in Starbow, I don't know exactly why, but for some reason you seem to be able to squeeze off that third hatchery, so it looks like you're expanding, but you can still do this quite effectively, which is a little bit confusing and disheartening for a lot of Protoss players because they're going to have to decipher what's going on. Even if they see a third base, it might still just be a rush strategy.
Yeah. A little bit unsure of how to read that, but that was game 2. It's now 1-1. This is a best of 7, and you need 4 wins to be able to be the king of the hill. And if you get those 4 wins and you're the king of the hill, you will receive $35. So it's a nice little win right there for yourself.
Should be enough for a new car. or something.
I don't know what country you live in, Norway, but
Yeah, Norway is a really cheap country if you didn't know that.
oh, I actually didn't know. I was just either way, I was just making fun of you.
that
But
that is also a joke. Norway is like pretty much the
oh,
most
okay.
expensive country in the world. So, but yeah,
Have you seen
but
the? Go ahead.
not too many know, I suppose. Sorry, have I seen what?
I was gonna say on Netflix, there's a show set in Lillehammer called Lillehammer, and
Yes, I know that show.
have you
I
seen
haven't
any of
seen it,
it?
but I know about it.
Yeah.
It's big here in Norway.
Is it really? Because that's all I know about Norway. That's essentially, sadly, all I know. I wish I knew more because it's a very nice place. But enough, or I guess, yeah, enough about Norway. We're gonna be going to a map called Match Point. Yet I wish it was like 3-3, and this needs to be the actual match point.
Yeah, that always it's so fun whenever we do StarBow tournaments, and this is like the last match in the best of 5, or something like that. Then it's on match point, and it's match point, and it fits so well. But yeah, match point is a 2-player map, so this is gonna be a little bit different. It's also, I don't know why, but every time I see PVZ here, Protoss usually wins. So and it was Franskar who's a Protoss player who picked this map. So I don't know exactly why it's Protoss favored, but to me it just seems that it is. But it might just be from my experience looking at games on this map, and I just might be unlucky with the games I've been seeing. They want to start, and we're ready. Okay, let's do this.
All right, we're gonna be going in really shortly to the third game in this best of 7.
ASL StarBow. You should be watching.
You can take us in.
All right, welcome back everyone to Game 3 of this StarBow King of the Hill show match. On the top right corner, currently lost the last game, so they're evened out in the score. In the purple, in the Protoss, it is Franskar.
And his opponent in the bottom left-hand corner of Match Point. It is the Orange Zerg player, the one, the only, Myrolt.
Oh, interestingly, Myro is actually gonna go for a. No, he's not. He's scouting. No, there we go. He's gonna go for a 10 hatch, which is basically saying to his opponent, "You're not gonna be able to block my hatchery," and that's exactly what's gonna happen because here comes a very sad probe. But on the other hand, it's quite an investment to go for a hatchery that early.
Yeah, especially 10 hatch, you are only on 9 workers, so not too effective right there. But yeah, Franskar will move in and be like, oh crap. That one probe his entire life, like he was born to do this. This is what he was given when he was born, is your job is to cancel this hatch. But wouldn't happen. Back at Franskar's base, he's doing a Forge Fast expand. And this map, even though this is a little bit more common of a map, how it looks a little bit more common for Brood War, the most notable one close to this is in the new map pool called Bridgehead, which looks a lot like this map actually.
Oh, I haven't paid attention that much to StarCraft 2 maps lately.
It looks very much like this map. I could almost it's like the flip opposite though. It's the bases are on the bottom right and the top left, but this is a much more common 2-player style map for Brood War and StarBow, of course.
Yeah, this is the 2 first maps we saw are actually original maps for StarBow. Well, this is a port from Brood War. This was an original Brood War map, and it was ported by Mirel and Izeel. Izeel made the first map we cast on, so they've been doing the port, and I think Mirel did the port, and Izeel added a lot of textures and made it look pretty.
Yeah, it does look very pretty. Franskar just going for a complete full scout, trying to see whatever he can see, and maybe, he's just checking for a third in that bottom right-hand position, seeing what he can see, and there's random minerals. Why are there random minerals? Is that for a wall-off?
Yes, that is for a wall-off, and it makes it so that you can make a complete wall-off and then mine it open yourself, so you don't have to kill a building. It's only 16 minerals on that patch, so you can just mine it with 2 workers.
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, what is going on in this game? I'm not really sure how that got there. But yes, actually, Interestingly enough, Franskar was thinking there was a bottom right corner expansion, but interestingly enough, Myralt is actually going to be doing the top left-hand corner, and finally, Myralt's Overlord will be getting to Franskar's natural base, sees a Forge Fast expand, the normal, how Franskar's been opening up, and I'm really curious to see how he may deviate this game. I feel like maybe Blink Stalkers, with that high ground upgrade, maybe a little bit better on this map. You could do some cool stuff with that.
That's a very good point, because you have that entrance to the main base, and I've seen some really cool stuff with that entrance. I've seen some slow lurker drops on this map, for example, just planting an Overlord there and just getting drop before speed for Overlords and just morphing the lurkers right on the spot, which is really cool. And yes, it's a really nice little entrance for Blink Stalkers and for Reapers and such.
Yeah, definitely. It is a nice entrance for that. Speed coming out for Myrol right here, and it doesn't look like he's planning on doing another Ling Rush because he is getting Lair, and so it just kind of evening out to, or not necessarily even out, but no early aggression coming out of him, and he does that top left-hand corner base, which I really love, and he's just making sure there's nothing proxied around the map, no hidden bases. Scar is actually going to be going into Twilight Council. Now, I mean, you could very easily see Zealot Speed. Sadly, it's not Charge, as I was told yesterday. It is Zealot Speed. But I'm kind of intrigued by what he's going to do with this. Maybe he will do that Stalker push, but he's still only on one gate. You needed a lot more production to be able to push them out.
Well, not...
Oh, there.
Yeah, and there they come as you were saying that. So yeah, and there's the Stalker. So he was like, the first game, Stalkers went really well. This map might even be better for Stalkers. Might as well try it again. And last game was sadly a catastrophe for him because it's just so sad, playing such a long first game and winning with so many good decisions and then losing game number 2 from one poor decision is really quickly is really disheartening. It feels kind of unfair, if you know what I mean.
Definitely, it is very disheartening, and actually, Franskar will be sending his Zealot to, I kind of think, the top left-hand corner? Not 100% sure, but now the Stalker is in the wall, and the Stalker, by the way, does have a range of 4, but with the Duality Charge, the upgrade from the Twilight Council will have a range of 6, so just incredibly mobile, like very good assassins, you almost could say. But now the Franskar Zealot is moving the top left-hand corner, and it fully spots it. This is the first he knows of this, and hopefully he'll get some kills here. There's only 2 Lings, so it may be able to actually get a couple.
Yeah, workers can fend for themselves a little, but it's going to be a Zealot can take a punch. So he's actually saving every single worker so far, which is really nice. But yeah, with the Stalkers, we basically wanted to go for giving Protoss an option to go for harass units on Twilight Tech before Dark Templars. So that's basically the main idea behind the Stalker in StarBow. It's not a core unit like it is in StarCraft 2. We tried to have Stalkers as a core unit instead of the Dragoon, but having no force fields and blink on a core unit, it just didn't work design-wise, because it has to be so strong, and being that strong and that mobile just doesn't work game design-wise.
Yeah, definitely. And the 3 Stalkers actually in the top left-hand base. Lings will catch them out of position. They do have blink in. One goes down while the other one's trying to blink out of the way. Still not blinking quite yet. There is the blink. And interestingly enough, those Lings that went up to deal with the Stalkers in the top left-hand corner could have gotten into the main base since there was no wall off right there for a couple seconds. But now these Lings will meet these Stalkers, and it'll see how the Stalkers fend for themselves. Looks like they're going to be doing okay. But now, this is a little bit like game 1. We're seeing Lurkers come out of Myralt, and he just needs to get them into a good position before Storm comes out. And Storm is only being started now. It's still 100 seconds away, so Myralt may be able to push in before that happens.
This is actually quite interesting. The first game we saw, these Lurkers were way later, and he was going for a lot of Hydras first. Now these Lurkers are very fast, and there will be absolutely no detection. But there will be a couple, maybe pick off. No, almost one. But yeah, like I was saying, these Lurkers should be able to set up quite a nice contain there for Myralt, which will be very difficult for Franskar to break, although his Stalkers, of course, can just, blink around it.
Yeah, and those Lurkers are finally down. Now, there is no Observer, but there's the cannon right there. So I believe that... No, actually, Franskar cannot see with the cannon. My bad. I'm incorrect right there. That's what I was thinking in my head. I was like, oh, wait, cannons aren't quite the same. But for now, Myralt's more Lurkers are coming in. That's 6 Lurkers at the front base of Franskar. Well, the Stalkers are actually going to go for a little bit of a base trade situation here. 9 Stalkers moving over into the bases of Myralt, and there's very few Lings, but 22 more are being pumped out. This is looking really scary for Franskar. He's going to have to multitask and defend this very well.
Indeed, he has to, and he just blinked once, so he has to wait for the blink to charge up. But he's dealing with the Lings very well. Like I was saying earlier, Stalkers are incredibly good versus their Lings in StarBow. Much better than you think they would be when you start to take an engagement. And the lurkers, they're taking on the wall, but they can't really do that much more.
Yeah, they can't go any farther forward, or those cannons will start to bring them down. But now the Stalkers going for some overlords, but going to this top left-hand base. Lings are rushing to the defense. Currently, 30 Lings are out, and these Stalkers are desperately trying to get as many drone kills as they can, but the Lings are now flooding in, and they do a remarkable amount of damage versus these Stalkers. But with Blink, it's still a little bit dicey for these players. Finally, the Lurkers are there, and these Stalkers cannot go 1-for-1 with them. And oh, interesting enough, the Lurkers of Myro almost were able to head off some of these Stalkers. They may be able to if they burrow down right now.
Oh, nice little flanking maneuver there. That's pretty cute.
Bro, wait, stop going back. Oh, I was so excited. Oh, but actually, the top of the ramp. The top of the ramp, the Lurkers are down, and the Stalkers in a little hairy situation. 3 Scourges are down, and the Stalkers were finally whittled away, but at the cost of 3 to 4 Lurkers. And I was so excited because like this is the dream. This is how you dream of it going on. Like, oh, the Stalkers are running back. I'll put them down, and you're gonna slaughtered. But didn't quite happen. And now Myralt's actually on a 4th base, and even though he's lost a couple Overlords, some drones, some Lurkers here and there, he's still doing pretty well. But Franskar is not going to give up.
Behind this, though, Myralt has been able to start his hive while he's been defending versus Stalkers, which is really important. So he has the Viper Nest, which he needs to get hive. Viper Nest is a new building we have in StarBow that allows for Vipers and Eruptors to be made, but most importantly, it's just a tech path to hive because we don't have Infestors, so there is no Infestation Pit either.
Yeah, definitely. There is no Infestors in this. A little bit different. Some cool units, but now finally, Franskar looking like he's going to move out in the same position as Game 1. Very Zealot heavy with some Stalkers and the High Templars. So I'm really intrigued to see how he's going to do it on this map. I feel like definitely Myralt has lost a lot less on this map than he did in Game 1. Oh, actually, Stalkers will get into the main base and just hunting down stuff. The Scourges are there just to scout, but some more Lings are finally hurrying in. And actually, by the way, to the chat, it's I don't know if Lings are slower, but I know how the unit pathing is a lot different. It's much more like Brood War, so that's why they look kind of strange when they run around.
Yep, and that's for all ground units has that behavior. They're basically, I'm not going to go into the greedy details of it because it's quite technical, but basically what happens is that when you have a larger group of units, they're gonna when you move them, they're gonna automatically spread out quite a bit. When they reach their destination, though, they a lot of times clump up again because it's very important for StarBow to be balanced. It's very important that the AOE damage and the AOE spells are really strong. So if you keep things moving, you got the things nice spread out as well. So it encourages more micro basically.
Oh yeah, definitely, it's really cool. But now Franskar will be moving out, and finally, as I was mentioning, Myralt is a little bit better of a defense to the Lurkers here, but it opens up a different pathway. Yes, he has this kind of his top left-hand base in the middle left-hand base defended, but easily the army of Franskar could go to the natural, but actually Franskar kind of assumes the opposite. The Lurkers will get off some attacks, and Franskar will pull back, but he does have an Observer with this army and 8 High Templars, so he should be able to storm this and push it off quite well. The storms do go down, and they'll kill 2 Lurkers here, but still the Lings of Myralt a little bit indecisive. They know they gotta wait till those storms are gone, but there's so little right here actually for Myralt. 7 Hydra with 16 Lings coming out, but Franskar is just decimating this army, just pinpointing, assassinating those Lurkers with storms. And Franskar, even though he's being careful pushing back, I feel like he could just slaughter this army if he wanted to, but he's just being very careful and precise.
Well, he actually did lose his Observer there, so he wasn't able to engage the Lurkers when the energy was out for the High Templars anymore. Again, Myralt really good with sniping those Observers with the Scourges and the Overlord. At the same time, though, again, Franskar is hitting before that precious timing for the Defilers to be out, so this is really nice. He needs to do a lot of damage now. Once those Defilers hit the field, it's going to be much more difficult to do so.
Yeah, it will be much more difficult, but now in this top left-hand base, Franskar pushing forward. Those High Templars, beautiful storms go down, trying to get rid of the Lurkers. Lurkers will be killed, and now there's, if I can remember what they call it, Dark Swarm? There we go. Dark Swarm did go down, so any units underneath that can defend, but as you were mentioning, Storm does kill it. Long range can't hit you while you're in the Dark Swarm, but now the Defilers are out. Let's see how he uses it. He had a Defiler out earlier, but now a couple more are out, and actually, interesting enough, will Dark Swarm on top of those High Templars on this ramp, and this is an interesting defense. I kind of like it. But
it was actually very well played by Myralt there, because you did see, although you saw a lot of storms going down, most storms killed at most 1 Lurker, because he was really good at both spreading them out and also trickling in the units a little bit at a time. And it's kind of the opposite of what you have to do in StarCraft 2, where you just want to attack with as many units as possible at once. But in StarBow, since the AoE spells and effects are so strong, you want to bait them out, and you want to send in fewer units at a time. And I think that's one of the main reasons you see battles are lasting longer. Not necessarily because the units deal less damage, but because you'd never want to move all your units in at once, because you're just going to lose them all really quickly.
Yeah, and now Franskar, I was kind of debating whether he wants to move, and Spine Crawlers are going down. As you mentioned, Spine Crawlers do a lot of damage, but like you just said, the damage is a little bit different. Now, really quickly, if you can explain that, just how it's kind of percent damages versus different things.
Oh wow, yeah, that is quite. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to explain that really quickly. I can explain it, but it's gonna be a little bit tricky. But basically, all units have certain damage types, and all units also have certain armor types. And certain damage types deal damage differently to certain armor types, and it's a set system. It's not like randomly some unit has some extra versus biological or extra versus light. It's all set in the system.
Yeah, but big dark swarms actually do go down, and that allows a lot of these lurkers to survive. Most of the storms of Franskar is out, and he has to retreat because of that. He was really relying on those storms to get rid of the lurkers, but beautiful, the dark swarms, the Defiler lurker combination, I feel like could work out really, really cool. It is very gas heavy and more of a late game composition, but I really like that position. But I love that Franskar has been very aggressive on 3 base for a while. He's finally taken a 4th base, but with how aggressive he's been in this kind of top middle location, it has allowed him to, I mean, it's almost, as we're saying, best defense, good offense right here, and he's going to be able to have a good offense and even wall himself almost completely in that base. But now Franskar will be pushing forward again. The Defilers are there, and the Lurkers are nicely spread. Big storm goes down. There are the Dark Swarms, and they will actually defend those Spine Crawlers. And like I was mentioning, Spine Crawlers do a lot more damage, or just a lot better in StarBow.
And we did also see Franskar going for a little bit of a cheeky drop in the main base of Mirolt there, which is kind of the mobility he wanted to have in the first game. Oh, those Scourges so close to sniping that War Prism. If he just moves a little bit more north, that would be quite nice. But yeah, basically this 4th base from Franskar is super important, and Mirolt has to expand again, or he's going to fall behind economically here. But he has to be able to do so effectively while defending versus all this constant pressure.
Yeah, it's been beautiful pressure from Franskar, and now there's only 2 lurkers at this top left-hand base, and just each time Mirolt has been forced to reposition. You might be able to see some cool multi-pronged attacks, but for now, this top left-hand base is a little bit at jeopardy. Beautiful Dark Swarms do go down, but the Storms negate them, kill some more stuff there. A lot of the Defilers, 5 Defilers are still alive, and a decent amount of lurkers here. There is 6 lurkers, but the Defilers, oh, big Storm goes down on them, and they're dead. And now the Dragoons trying to do as much damage as they can. Is that Plague on them?
That is Plague. That was a beautiful Plague there from Mirolt. Unfortunately, he loses his space though, but he might be able to kill all of these Dragoons now with the Lurkers.
Oh, but he will. I think he teleported home. Yeah, he will teleport home actually because of that. And those Lurkers kill it all, but that top left-hand base was sniped, and as you were mentioning, Mirolt needed to expand to really keep it up, but now he's being forced to just remake that base. So he's gonna start waning behind a little bit in that just the economy of the game.
I think the middle bottom base is up for grabs for Mirolt quite easily, with considering his position. As long as he can set up some lurkers and spine crawlers down there before Franskar is discovering that. And as I say that, we see that he's actually setting up to take that base. So I really like that move.
Yeah, and also this creep spread of Mirolt, it's in a very nice position that he knows he has to defend, but I'm still a little bit worried about the ramp. Even though the lurkers are there, I'm still a little bit worried about maybe some more blink stalkers kind of coming in for Mirolt, but nothing of that sort looks like it's coming out for Franskar, and he's actually somewhat pulling off. Not quite as much aggression is coming out. He was forced to teleport everything back home. And now both players have kind of gone into a silent agreement of just, okay, we're going to macro up, and Mirolt taking another base, but actually DTs are now coming out of Franskar.
Another very interesting thing is, oh, I think you mean Corsairs, right?
Oh, there's some DTs out on the map.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, sorry.
Yeah, there are that, but there's DTs, yeah.
We do see, oh yeah, he's gonna snipe that base, which is very nice, so try to at least. But it's a very interesting transition what Franskar is doing now. He's going for +1 air weapons, and he's gonna start adding on Corsairs. Basically, the late game composition for Zerg is by being Zergling Ultralisk, as Ultralisk can tank a lot of storm damage, and you can attack around more mobily and freely without having to position everything all the time. The problem with Zergling Ultralisk is that you have nothing that can protect your overlords, so adding this group of Corsairs might be able to supply block Mirolt in the late game for a long time, which is quite tricky to do anything about.
Yeah, it is quite tricky to do a lot of things about, but this bottom right-hand base was sniped by the... I love these little lings all here and there, and these lings are currently... By the way, Marl is at 3-2, while Franskar is only at 3-0, so a lot of the... Even though I'm not sure how huge that factors in, I'm still kind of learning that from what I see, but it still is a pretty big upgrade difference.
It's actually 3-3 now, and oh, the Zergling sniping that High Templar, very nice. But yeah, this upgrade difference is really good for Marl. Unfortunately, though, he's really behind supply-wise. So, although he has the better upgrades, he definitely has the smaller army. So I don't know if he can make up for that big of an army deficit.
Yeah, and now a big engagement happening in the middle of the map. Lots more Zealots for Franskar this time. That is 19 Zealots, 5 High Templars, a couple Dragoons, and actually 2 Warp Prisms out on the map. We'll see what he's going to do with those. And actually, it looks like it's a Reaver drop? Or no, just Corsair.
Fireless really wants to Plague, and there we have it. That's exactly what you want to do with that many Zealots, and very nice Plague there.
Yeah, beautiful Plague, all those Zealots on 1 health, but now Corsair is moving into the main base, and there's very little to defend, and it's all the tech is in that main base right there, and I'm curious what the Warp Prism's going to do. Oh, we'll get sniped by those Scourges beautifully.
Wow, that's insane. Actually, usually having that many Corsairs with upgrades protects Warp Prisms just fine, so the fact that he got that snipe is really bad. All he's left to do is to kill Overlords, and he can't really do anything about the ground.
At the middle base of Franskar, though, the Ultralisks are engaging. A beautiful Dark Swarm does go down, so the cannons cannot do that much versus these Ultralisks, and Ultralisks just destroying it, while the entire army of Franskar is moving into the main and the natural base of Myralt, and both of the armies of these players are on the opposite sides of the map. How is Myralt going to deal with this? Franskar is deciding, you know what, I don't care about that middle base, but now there's so many units coming up this ramp, but like you said before, it's such a small ramp, and the Reavers did a lot of damage. A lot of these units are also only on 1 health. Dark Swarm does go down on top of these lurkers to attempt to get some better positioning, but the army of Franskar a little bit too fast. If somehow Myralt can pump out a lot of lings, these Zealots are going to go down so quickly. All of them on 1 health and full energy.
Yeah, this is actually really hard to say, but it looks like Myralt might get out of this quite decently, but all these Dark Templars being added and all the Corsairs to snipe the Overlords might make this very tricky. Now, if he gets a Plague off on the Dark Templars, you can see them actually. Oh,
Yep.
is that me
I don't know
lagging?
if that's me. I didn't see anything. I mean, it lagged, but I didn't see any name come up.
Oh, I didn't see anything either, so it's one of us, potentially.
Alright,
But
well,
wow, Myralt actually holds this, which is really good for him. And wow, taking the base that he just killed, that's almost like, yeah, almost like, oh, is this my, this is not good.
what? Is it me or is it you?
Oh,
it's
Franskar.
Woo!
Okay.
Woo! When it's the casters, everyone hates on the casters. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna give him a second right here, but I asked you to explain it simply. I know you can, but just the damage system works a little bit different
I got some more
if you
time now.
got that.
Yeah. So basically, oh, crap! I have lost my sound.
Oh, I can hear you.
There
and
we
everything.
go. Okay, there. I just couldn't hear you. Yeah, basically every unit has 3 different damage types. You got normal damage, explosive damage, and concussive damage. And the damage you see on the unit is the 100% damage. But a lot of units only deal 100% damage versus certain armor types. There's 3 armor types: armored, medium, and light.
Oh,
And
actually, Myralt may snipe. Sorry, snipe a lot of probes right here.
No
The
problem.
Ultralisks, they see their point. They see where they can do it. No, don't actually quite go off. They are moving up this ramp, though. A lot of photon cannons. Dang. Those probes are lucky right there, but 50 probes in the bottom right-hand base. Literally, this is all the income, and Myralt is moving this. A lot of cannons are there, and storms are actually forced to go on the cannons themselves, and no storms can actually go to defend any of these probes because they'll slaughter the probes here. And it is beautiful, though. Myralt is really, for Franskar, this is his only mining base. Or, sorry, he actually has 2 mining bases. But the majority of his mining is coming from here, and Myralt's in a very interesting position just because he could slaughter these probes easily, but both players kind of... they're sorry, not both players, but Franskar literally just he has no army. He's
Playing the
no army.
probes, actually. Wow. I was kind of like, it was really unfortunate that Myralt didn't have enough energy for a Dark Swarm there. Else he could protect himself versus those cannons just fine. But he's actually ending up with not being able to do as much damage to that expansion as he would like at that point, and it stays alive for now.
Yeah, it will barely stay alive, but there's so few units here. A couple Zealots, but I mean, even the do the Corsairs count as ranged attack? By the way, I don't think they do.
Yeah, Corsairs have a ranged attack, yes.
Okay, yeah. But
Corsairs as in the flying units, right?
yes.
Oh yeah, but Dark Swarm only protects ground.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out how that would affect it. But for now, I mean, Myrold actually saying, okay, all your army, the bottom right-hand corner, I can push into your third base, and Franskar is hopefully trying to defend here. So many workers, actually, no workers were killed right there, but so many workers can almost be killed each time. But the Lings, Myrold is just, again and again, he had a beautiful bank about 5-6 minutes ago of 2,000 minerals, and he's been able to rely on that for a very long time, but a Plague goes down on a decent, actually, wow, Plague goes down on 7 Corsairs.
Very nice there. And as you can see from those Zerglings, in StarBow, they get 33% faster attack speed from the adrenal glands. I think it's only 16 or so in StarCraft 2. So Hive Tech 3/3 adrenal gland Zerglings is insanely strong in StarBow. And it's possible to do that for us because we don't have the inject making tons and tons of larvae. So you get a little bit fewer numbers, but you get stronger Zerglings, and that's exactly what you're seeing right now. Look at that.
Yeah, now there's still very few units of Franskar, but again, both players have been kind of forced onto a very low economy. A good 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, we were noting on how Myrold needed to expand while Franskar was expanding well, but both players just again and again have killed a lot of expansions for each other, so neither player has been able to get into that next step of the game. But wow, a lot of Overlords do go down on the left-hand side. These Corsairs getting so many kills, but all of them literally on 1 health.
I think it would be very wise for Myrold at this time to make just a couple of Eruptors. He has the tech for it. They do attack air when they're burrowed, and they deal splash damage. Like 2 or 3 Eruptor shots would kill every single Corsair. And the Scourge right now can't really connect because the DPS of the Corsair is too high with the upgrades. So that would be very smart for him just to make a couple, I think.
Yeah. And for now, I mean, this game has been really interesting because all the games I've seen of StarBow, they've either ended within like the first 5-6 minutes, or they've gone on for a long time, and both players have fought, but I always kind of feel like it comes into this not necessarily stalematey situation, but situation where both players sort of reset each other because they've mined out.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. They're both kind of not being able to explore their full potential of their tech tree right now, just because they don't really have the income to support that. So they're scrapping a little bit, just trying to think what's the most cost-efficient unit I can make that can deal the most damage to my opponent right now. And it's actually warping in to that base, which is quite smart.
Yeah, it is very smart, trying to be aggressive as he can possible, and will be warping in DTs. Now there's no vision right here. There's the one Spore Crawler kind of going up, but these DTs trying to get as much damage as they can. But actually, Hydras will kill 1 Corsair right there, and it's down to actually only 5 Corsairs, 1 Corsair with full health. But again, all these Corsairs are very low, and there it is. Right now we see Plague go down on those middle.
He has to plague his own buildings, so you can spot the DTs. So I don't know if that's worth it, because that hatchery is going to go very low on health now, but at least the DT threat is gone. But he's not cleaning up the Warp Prison, which is very unfortunate, which means that
these Zealots are going to have a field day, like, wait a second, woo!
Yeah, almost 1 HP hatchery. But it was very, as I was talking about cost efficiency right there, like Franskar has these many Corsairs, so throwing in DTs into his mix, as long as he can kill the Overlords, is really difficult for Myrold to detect. And as I was talking about earlier, he's actually adding on those Eruptors right now, and if he can just get a couple of shots off on these Corsairs, it will make his day a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. With just a couple shots, and the Hydra army of Myrold currently is at, if I can find it, 13 strong, so a decent amount of Hydras here with these Ultras, with the Defilers. It's a very potent force and scare to deal with. Franskar does have 18 Zealots here, and he actually, it's a normal Archon, sadly, but still, just to point out, Franskar is at 3-1. Just forever, he does not like those armor upgrades at all.
If he starts to research shield upgrade now, we can definitely confirm that. Now,
yeah, I just don't get armor. I just don't play with armor.
There are... Oh, wow. Actually, Franskar trying to set up a base here, but Myrold denying this very nicely. There are Dark Archons in StarBow as well, which might be interesting for Franskar to go, because they do have some spells that deal with biological units very nicely, and that's exactly what Zerg is.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, everything Zerg is biological, so a lot of just storm, things like that. Area of effect and those Dark Archon spells can do a lot of damage. For now, both players traded out a base again and again. Both players needed just 1 more base economy, just barely a little bit more economy. But now both players have reset themselves, and so they're still just fighting so hard for this. It's beautiful, Myrold.
Yeah, Franskar do not want to move up that ramp with 3 lurkers on top with only zealots. That's a death trap right there. But I like how Mirolt is sending out these small groups of units, trying to snipe High Templars, trying to snipe key units here and there, because you can't really engage straight up Protoss when they have all those key units. Beautiful plague though going off there.
Yeah, again and again, these plagues it's scary because this Franskar, I would not want to engage. Actually, Dark Swarm does go off on these lurkers, and the entire force of Franskar has to pull back because they cannot deal with these 3 lurkers. But still, the Corsairs are reigning free, and they have so many kills on them. By the way, 8 kills on one, 6 on another, and just going ham on whatever they can. But they gotta be careful not to engage in these Hydralisks. And now Franskar is like, I'm gonna go start making Dragoons again. A beautiful base in the bottom for Franskar, attempted to go down, but it's not gonna actually go there. So many Lings will kill it. But just these players back and forth. This is a very long game. Another storm does go down. And, the Hydras barely. They are starting to kill these Corsairs, but still the Corsairs, they have really paid for themselves.
I would give the slight edge to Mirolt just because he seems to have a better tech. His army seems to be stronger tech-wise, but when it comes to economy, he's still only on very few bases, and you don't want to have the same number of bases as your Protoss opponent. So Mirolt really needs to secure an expansion in order to secure his lead in this game.
Yeah, definitely. No, but now in the bottom right-hand corner, Lings of Mirolt moving into Franskar and trying to cancel it again, but beautiful storms do cancel it.
Yeah, no Nexus snipe there for today. I would like to see those Eruptors of Mirolt positioned in such a way to deal with the Corsairs having one here and there. I don't think I saw anyone in the middle, but again, Fraskar's going to try and move up this ramp, which is going to take a lot of damage.
Yeah, he will take a lot of damage, especially with those plagues that went down, but still, both players know they need to deny these bases. Mirolt is moving in with a lot of his units. He's now down to a Hydra Ling Ultralisk composition, and these couple of Defilers have paid for themselves. They've been in the game for a very long time, but now actually Franskar, he's been sandwiched here, and only 2 Dragoons and a Zealot are able to get out. Some more Dragoons are reinforcing, but this has been going back and forth for an incredibly long time, but Mirolt is still pushing forward, but now there's these 2 cannons that Franskar can retreat back onto, and I'd like to say just Mirolt, I agree, his tech tree and his decisions on units I think have been much better in this game.
It's going to be very difficult for Franskar to defend this choke, and if he can't get this base up, it's just going to be difficult for him to stay in the game, really, although he's actually ahead in supply.
Yeah, he is ahead in supply by just a little bit, but still, it's going to even up pretty soon. And just again and again, this middle base in the top part of the map has been the point of contention for so long, and funnily thing enough, it has not been mined out. Both players have claimed this base twice, I think, multiple times, and yet both players have lost it. And now it's the same thing in the bottom middle base. Both players have claimed that twice, and both players have lost it twice. But now Mirolt is taking it. I think this is his second time, but hasn't quite lost it. But now it looks like Franskar is not going to let him take it.
I think Mirolt this time around will be able to keep it, just because he has a very effective army now to deal with the army of Franskar. And if Mirolt can get this base up, it's basically game, I think, because the mining of Franskar is very poor at the moment.
Yeah, it is very, very poor. If we look at the income right now, it's 57 to 39 workers, but it's 500 minerals to like 550 minerals right now income. So very, very the same. But actually, Franskar takes a big engagement right there. Will slaughter almost everything.
If he can swing around now, yeah, and that's exactly what he's doing. If he's swinging around now and taking out that bottom expansion, he can stay in the game, but it's super important that he takes out this expansion, that it doesn't lose his observers to the Scourges, or else the Lurkers can just defend forever.
Yeah, and like you were saying, the kind of tech choices of Mirolt were a lot better, but now they're all reset, and because they were better tech choices, more advanced tech choices, they cost so much. And I love Franskar's transferring down probes already. He's just like, you know what, I need some income. It's gonna happen right here. But now the drones of Mirolt, they have very little to do. The Lings of Mirolt are gonna try to hopefully capture some of these Dragoons, but actually the Nexus cannot go down because of the creep. But now I'd love to see the drones pulled with this. Lings trying to do as much damage as they can. There, the drones are being pulled. The probes doing long distance mining, but only 8 drones were actually killed in that. And oh, with this choke point, so much damage. Only 9 drones were actually killed now. There is the DT there.
This is actually really cutthroat. Like, if you look at the supplies, Franskar is so far ahead, but he still can't really get an income. Like, he has an income. Actually, Mirolt doesn't have an income. So this is actually definitely Franskar's game to take right now. But it's going down to, like this is like, if you have one more Zealot than your opponent's couple of Zerglings. It's super important at this point. Like they're both scrapping really, really hard.
Yeah, they both just every little bit of mineral they can get. And like I was saying, Myrald had a very good tech choice. There's some big expensive tech choices, but because of that, he can't quite as easily remax as Franskar. But it's not even remaxing; it's half maxing.
Oh, Mirald's sniping as many workers as he can though. But here comes the army of Franskar, and yeah, Mirald doesn't have anything left. GG.
And that was match point. No, it was match point.
It was, and it wasn't match point at the same time. How about that? How's that for a really good game though? That was a crazy game back and forth. So many little maneuvers, so many cute little plays, and Franskar making it out on the top at the end.
Yep, it is currently 2-1 for Franskar, and this has been very back and forth. And a lot of the engagements I've expected to go one way or the other have not quite gone that way, and I think that's very cool. And a lot of just little things.
Indeed.
Plague. Make sure you throw in some plague. I don't know what you mean, Bacon.
Plague! See. I'm trying to be analytical, and the analytical caster shouldn't shout Plago. So.
I can shout Plague, but I don't actually know what that means, sadly, so I'm kind of screwed here. Okay, thank you, Bacon Infinity. But right now, guys, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to StarBowMod.com. If you guys want to play on the ladder, you want to play some Starbow, you can head over to StarBowMod.com, or if you're in StarCraft right now, just type into that chat channel Starbow, and it should come up. There's a decent amount of players on EU and NA to hook up with too, so really cool community. Also, lots of fun guys, and they're on their second season of their ladder, which they're kind of emulating off of ICC Cup. Yes. And I think that's a really good way to do it. I like that system. And also, just to give a quick shout out, head over to ASL StarCraft. We are the ones kind of putting this together, just production wise right here. And even though it's a little butchered today, we will get it next time in the future. And we got the games going today, so I'm still happy. So just a quick shout out to SC2ReplayStats.com. If you want to head over there, you can look at all the replay stats of your games, man. You can do a lot of really cool analytical stuff on your games and just keep track of them, your win rates, things like that. So this is ASL currently, ASL StarBow. And yeah, just again, head over to not ASLStarbow.com. Head over to StarBowMod.com. I'm sorry. There's too many names. StarBowMod.com. Head over there if you want to look and do more research on this. My co-caster is the one, the only Ziphius.
Yes.
And you can follow. How can you follow Starbow on Twitter?
On Twitter, it's at StarBowMod. And also follow our Twitch channel. It's SC2_Starbow, which is where I usually cast a stream. And both of the players have declined the invitation. This is interesting. Also, we blame XSplit and Twitch for not being able to be where we want today.
Yeah. Sadly.
Is Twitch sponsoring you guys? Maybe we shouldn't blame Twitch. Anyway,
we'll delete that later. We did not say that. No. Yeah, you don't need to say anything. Yeah, ding it and the lovely Twitch. But in this next. Yeah, okay, guys. Okay, I won't hate on Dang It. I'm sorry. And then you can follow me. I do a lot of random casting for lots of random things, but you can follow me at Drennoc, DRENNOC, on Twitter. And if you guys really love our observers and the people who are making this possible right now, go over, hit the follow button for Bacon Infinity, or if you're on ASL StarCraft, please hit follow on that just to support, and it really means a lot to all of us. You can also find Bacon Infinity at Bacon_Infinity on Twitter, I believe. If I'm wrong, you can correct me.
If you happen to stumble across an infinite amount of bacon, you basically found it.
Yeah.
All right. Both the players are ready. Should we just go straight into the next game? Do we want to talk a little bit about the map first, or?
Well, Circuit Breaker. Sadly, I can't view the little screenshot. So tell me about Circuit Breaker.
Circuit Breaker is actually, interestingly, statistically, the most balanced map in Brood War ever made. It's basically 50-50-50 all across the board.
I'm looking
between
it up.
The different matchups.
Oh, I know this map. Know this map.
It's somewhat similar to King Kaum that we saw last time, except the middle is more just a big fighting area. But it has it has low ground third base expansions instead of high ground. So and it has some interesting third base high ground areas where you can launch to your opponent, kind of like Matchpoint did. So it's kind of a mix of everything we've been seeing today.
Yeah, definitely. And okay, guys, we're going to be getting into Circuit Breaker, which is going to be game 4. No, sorry. Yes, no.
Yes.
Yes, game 4. Game 4,
Four.
it's currently 2-1 for Franskar. My co-caster is Ziphius. I'm Drenok. See you in just a couple seconds on Circuit.
ASL StarBow. You should be watching.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the most balanced Broodor map ever. I don't know how it works in StarBow, but I hope it's the same.
It's abysmal. I'm just kidding. Sorry, go ahead.
I was like, it's terrible. But in the top left-hand corner, it is the pink Protoss player, Franskar.
And currently up 2-1, playing. No, crap. Currently down 1-2, playing as the orange Swedish Zerg. It is my world. And for some reason, Franskar always chooses pink for his Protoss, but green for his Zerg. That was a very interesting fact.
I like that fact. You get a little bit of like baseball, American baseball. It's like, well, I mean, if he wears purple socks, he generally gets home runs. But just to say, when I was talking to these players beforehand, it's interesting because Myralt was a lot more confident than Franskar. It's kind of like, I faced him a couple times, we're pretty even, but I'm not sure. And Myralt was like, I got this. Like, it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna walk through. It's gonna be even, but I'm gonna do really well. But,
I'm actually surprised at the scores right now. Like, basically, the only game Myralt won was kind of a game that he shouldn't have won that easily if Franskar had just walled off properly. So and lately the notion in StarBow is that late game PvZ is heavily Zerg favored, and also Myralt has been wrecking it up lately, while Franskar hasn't been as active. So the fact that Franskar, both of his wins are late game versus Zerg is kind of it's really impressive, to say the least. Like, it's throwing off the notion of what's strong and not strong in the StarBow community right now.
Yeah, definitely. And Franskar opening up like he has almost every other. Actually, he has opened this way up in every chat, but going for the Forge Fast Expand. By the way, guys, I was in the wrong chat. I was in ASL's chat, so I was talking to nobody. But now in Bacon Infinity chat, we have the people, and I was like, why is there no one talking here? Yet we have a decent amount of viewers. I don't know. But for now, Myralt opening up, also like he kind of has before, but interestingly enough, only taking one gas in his natural base. Now, I wonder if that's a little bit of a scouting thing. If Franskar maybe would go up, scout one gas, and assume there's a gas in the main.
Yeah, that might be it. I've never really seen this before, but that's the only reasonable explanation. Though taking 2 gas this early is just, you just don't see this happen. Although you only have 1 geyser, the gas income in StarBow is actually quite high, and I've seen a lot of StarCraft 2 players switch over to StarBow, and they're amazed at how much gas they're getting early on. They're used to having to take like 3-4 geysers, and to get a decent gas saturation. They only take 1 and 2 or 3 bases, and they're just fine. So you never really want to take 2 geysers this early anyway, though. But that's a very fast lair. Actually, his third base is already going. It's just very fast in general. He's just a really effective player.
Yeah, Myralt is he's loving his little tweaks on different plays and trying new things. But for now, we do actually see a full scout from Franskar. Every game he's got a full scout on his opponent. He's been very vigilant to make sure he spots everything and nothing comes as a surprise to him. And he's just, each game he's been doing the same thing. And I'm kind of curious whether he's going to do Blink Stalkers again. I feel like it would be interesting on this map just because there's a lot of different high ground positions. Your third base is lower than the main.
Here we go. There's the Stargate. So no, it's going to be very interesting. This is one of 2 things. This is either going to be Corsairs, which is most likely, but he might actually throw in a couple of Sentinels first, which is a signature unit for StarBow only, which is it's kind of an Oracle, but it kind of isn't. It's not as harass oriented and more space control oriented, but you can still harass workers and do things with it. They shoot out little not shoot out. They place little air mines called null wards, which do area effect damage when they hit, and also slow down enemy and friendly units that they hit. So they don't deal that much damage. I think it's only 30 damage. So but they do it in AoE, so it's more like controlling space than anything. It's like, okay, if you move out, you're going to take 30 damage from all your units. You might just want to stay in your base a little bit longer.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of really cool kind of area shutdown and area of control things you can do in StarBow, much like Brood War. But yeah, it would be a really cool thing possibly coming out of Franskar. And right now, though, interestingly enough, Myralt is going Spire, so both players decided to go Air. And I believe that Myralt has spotted the Stargate. No, actually, he's not spotted the Stargate. That's his own choice without that. And off that, he's going Hydroden. This is a very gas-heavy composition early on. And also, again, like we saw in the previous game, or actually like we saw in Game 2, I think, taking a weird third base.
Yeah, and this is actually what Myralt is doing here is basically a textbook Brood War opener versus Protoss, actually. Going for the fast Spire to deal with these Corsairs. You're going to see him popping out a couple of Scourges right now. There we go, 6 Scourges on the way to deal with the early Corsairs. And then you add on the Hydra Den to start building up a Hydralisk army based off of your 3-base economy. And with 3-base economy, without the Corsair presence, you can either go for a really big number of Hydras, or you can start to go for Zergling Lurker compositions and take a very nicely defendable 4th base with those Lurkers. So, but we are seeing the Hydra speed, so it's probably going to be Hydralisks. And it might be a lot of them, too, off of 3 bases.
Yeah, and the Corsairs do get a little bit of damage done here and there, but now the Scourges will be moving in. What are they going to go for? They're just kind of meandering around.
They're probably going to try to find the Corsairs. You really want to just snipe Corsairs. Corsairs has a really hard, critical mass. Like, once you reach 6-7 Corsairs, especially if you get the +1 upgrade from the Cybercore, no amount of Scourges can really hit them anymore because they deal that AoE damage, and Scourges clump up quite a bit. So you basically have to deal with them with other methods after that. So right now, you want to keep the Corsair count as low as possible, and that's exactly what he's going for. And I think he can right now. If he hits right now, he will, because there's only Zealots to protect him, and Zealots don't shoot air that well.
Yeah, there is 15 Hydralisks, so like you were saying, he's got a little bit of an opening here, but these Zealots will push back the Hydras. No Lurkers yet, but the Scourge is looking for an angle to engage. And, oh, will they be able to? No, they're just kind of meandering around, trying to get in a nice angle where the Corsairs won't quite expect it. But now, Myralt has actually pushed the flow of this game. All the Zealots are going back. The DT actually is retreating too. Don't know why it is. Wait, Scourges? No, Scourges don't spot DTs. But for now, DT actually, interestingly enough, will be heading back to that main base. But the Corsairs of Franskar are working as hard as they can on these Overlords, killing as much as they can. They will get 2 Overlords, supply blocking Myralt, and just only going for Overlords here. A little bit like a Phoenix opening in PvZ and SC2. And snipe as many Overlords, get some drones here. But now just the Myralt's composition of heavy Hydra has been able to push this back, combined with Scourges, has really not allowed the most damage he'd want to get out of this.
I would have liked to see the Dark Templars of Franskar be a little bit more active, because he's killed so many Overlords, and these Hydras that are roaming around don't have any detection with them. But he has been retreating the Dark Templars together with his Zealots, which I think is a mistake. He should have been controlling those separately to gain some more map presence that way. Lurker Den on the way, though, so we are going to see Myralt here getting up for some Lurkers. I don't know if he's going to use that to take another base, or he might just use it to try to set up a contain.
Yeah, he may be able to use it to set up a little of a contain, but now for Myralt, I mean, he's got Lings and Hydras all over the map at the bases, making sure nothing's going to get out. And for now, as I was saying, the Lings on the other side of the map, but these Scourges still getting the Overlords. At some point right here, I mean, Myralt needs to stop sending these Overlords in the almost, actually, as I say that, maybe random directions is the best idea, so the Corsairs have to go all over the place. But then again, I mean, Myralt he's got to get these Overlords back into the main base where he can defend them. But now DT will be pushing out a lot of these Lings from Myralt. Myralt does have a lot of map control, as we were saying, though, and I mean, he's really going to be able to deny a lot of bases, and he even is going for a 5th base here.
We are seeing the Viper Nest coming up for Myralt. It's probably just a tech to high, but it would be nice to get a couple of Eruptors out just to deal with the cloud of Corsairs that has been harassing his base. Now he's getting a lot of Scourges, but they aren't really going to connect that well. Now they're going to try, but as you can see, the DPS of the Corsairs just kill them before they can reach them.
Yeah, definitely. And these Hydras.
We are seeing four Eruptors here actually to deal with these Corsairs, and he's getting the range upgrade for the Eruptors too. So this is going to be very useful for defending those Corsairs.
Yeah, definitely. And these Hydras.
And we are seeing for Eruptors here actually to deal with these Corsairs, and he's getting the range upgrade for the Eruptors too, so this is going to be very useful for defending those Corsairs.
Yeah, and Myrold has not done this in any of the previous games, so deviating a little bit, like you were saying though, Franskar is to be really careful, or sorry, my bad, Myrold is to be very careful, because Franskar is kind of getting up to that critical mass you gotta be afraid of, but still not quite there yet. They will actually spot the space in the right-hand corner from Myrold. They just spot it, they know it's there, and actually just decimating these overlords, but still, Myrold is on 3 Franskar, which is a Protoss you can survive off of, but I'm still very worried. And a huge supply block for Franskar right there, actually.
Oh, and he did get a DT over to that base, which is really nice. Killing the Overlord, then sending the DT exactly the way you want to do this, and this might force Merle to cancel this hatchery.
Yeah, it might force him to cancel that hatchery, but at the same time, actually, the Hydralisks of Myralt are moving into the natural base, trying to set up a contain, and Myralt and both Myralt and Franskar are what is the word I'm looking to? Scrambling across the map, and there's no vision at that base. The Hydra is desperately trying to do something, and won't quite happen. Overlords do have vision by default, but they're not going to quite be able to get over there because of these beautiful Corsairs. But now, Myrald has a little bit of a contain on Franskar. He does have those High Templars though, and as he's shown in previous games, is very good at sniping any lurkers that he can.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how long he can keep the contain up. There's already at least one observer, I think, on the field. Yeah, there's 3 actually observers on the field. So, and it's not that many units. So yeah, I think Franskar should be able to deal with this. Those bridges are working a little bit against him, but it's really not that many lurkers.
Yeah, not that many lurkers are there, but he does have them very nicely spread out to be able to dodge any storms that, they will have to retreat, and now those overlords on top will be decimated right there. There's no DTs with the main army of Franskar, but those overlords will be important for that and to get high ground vision, and now it's actually, the tables have been turned. Franskar is on the complete aggressive, finally breaks out of his base. He currently has 4 High Templars, 7 Corsairs, 16 Zealots, 9 Dragoons. He is a very formidable army. He's going to be able to storm a lot of things that he wants. Actually, beautiful. That one
Eruptor right there. Yeah, doing a lot of damage to the Corsairs. That was a sneaky little position there. He did get picked off quite easily, though.
Yeah. Myrald is getting into another defensive position, but this time is actually setting up a little bit of defense down this ramp and is trying to go for a flank, but not quite what he wanted. The creep will be cleaned up right there and just pushed back a little bit more, allowing Franskar to have a better contain, and we'll get rid of that Spore Crawler. Beautiful. The Corsairs are going to be in a nicer position. I'd love to maybe see Defilers right here for some plagues, but doesn't look like it'll happen, and the Lurkers are not in the right position to defend. Now there is more Lurkers currently out on the map, by the way. There are 12 Lurkers, but is that going to be enough? Storms go down. The Dragoons of Franskar are trying to focus down. Some Overlord is trying to remove as much supply as he can, so there's no remax, but doing as much damage as he can. Lurker's not in the right position, and Zealot's working on this little macro hatch right here. But interestingly enough, still, the Lurkers of Myrald have not moved.
The Eruptor killed every single observer in 2 hits there, and now these Lurkers coming in will actually be able to maybe force Franskar either into the main base or to retreat, and he's going to go into the main base, and yeah, this is actually quite interesting. I think Merle should be able to hold this now, although he will be losing a lot while doing so.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see if he can. The Lurkers rushing into the main base, trying to do that. Drones being scattered to the right-hand side, but Teleport Home actually goes down while on the natural base. There's still actually 2 High Templars attempting to do something, but those Lurkers having a good day will kill as much as they can. 1 Storm attempts to go down, and 1 but won't quite happen. 13 drones killed, and I'd actually say that went decent for Franskar. I would have not have liked him to lose as much as he did, maybe teleport a little bit more earlier, but he did kill a lot of things and reset just a lot of the counts of Lurkers for Myralt. Currently, Myralt is only at 6 lurkers, so he did lose half of that, but his right-hand base has been able to kind of get back up.
It was a very interesting engagement for sure. He was a little bit unlucky there, losing all of those 3 clumped up observers at once from just the 2 shots from that one Eruptor, which made him lose a lot more army than he should in that engagement. It was a very important timing for him though, because again, like we've seen from the first game and the 3rd game, that timing to go just before the Defilers come out has been very important for him to do some damage. And now that Defilers are out, it's going to be more tricky for him, especially with a much smaller group that you see now compared to what he had before. No High Templars. I don't really like this move out. Like I'm okay with the move out, but I don't think he should commit with this group of units right now, especially not to the natural.
Yeah, he's got to be careful. And also, just to say from Myralt, is that he used a Dark Swarm, but he's only got one Defiler out. A couple more Defilers coming, but he's got to be careful because it doesn't have that many Lurkers, and a Dark Swarm is 100 energy, while there's only 200 on a Defiler. So he's got to be very careful where he places them. But now there's no actually Defilers at this right-hand base. Lurkers trying to do as much damage as they can. My bad, there is a Defiler there. The Dark Swarms do go down, but barely. One Lurker is not actually going to be covered, and damage will be done. Ling's trying to get a flank here. Will they be able to do it? Moving in quickly. They are in the Dark Swarm now, but the Templar, the area of effect damage does not care about those Dark Swarms. Trying to do as much damage as they can, but there's so little to defend here. The base is sniped, only 3 workers killed, but a Defiler and a decent amount of Lings, and actually the drones of Myralt aren't moving. Oh, there they are.
And rifting out again, Franskar is playing very effectively there. Now, I just witnessed something very interesting that I've never seen before, and that was that the Defiler was consuming larva. And my brain started to rack itself wondering if it was that possible in Bird War, and I don't know if it was. So that was something we might have to look into, because I don't know if it's intended that you're supposed to be able to consume larvae. So that was interesting. But anyhow, he had that one Defiler, so that helped him a little bit. Franskar is in a decent position right now. He has those 4 bases up. He did kill that one base from Myralt, and Myralt is scrambling a little bit here to get into the later stages of this game, to get his economy going the way he wants to. He can't really go for those Ultralisks, for example, that he really wants to, based on the number of bases he has right now.
Yeah, definitely cannot quite go for that, but now he's trying to make something happen right inside, but both players are kind of passing each other in the night. I do not think Myralt's going to be able to move into these photon cannons, while Franskar is going to have relatively little just pressure against him as he moves into this. There's nothing on this side of the map to defend. A couple Lings, and yeah, now Myralt is out in the full retreat. These Lurkers were already they committed. They're committed to that position to get damage done, but it's not actually going to happen. They're not going to pull back right now. Franskar pushing into the natural base with so many 28 Zealots. Zealots doing as much damage as they can. There is the Lings coming in, but the Lings are just decimated here, and the Defilers are pulling back here, but the Lurkers, they're just a little bit too late. I don't think they're gonna be here enough. There is that one Ruptor trying to do damage, but it's not quite gonna happen. Natural base will be sniped.
Again, he killed every single observer with that one Eruptor. That Eruptor definitely paid for himself, but like you were saying, I don't know if I think Franskar just has too much stuff. And meanwhile, on the top side, he didn't really get anything done with that harass to kill that base.
Yeah, he is so little defending. He's not able to actually kill that base, but GG.
Wow, Franskar is... Yeah, I was just saying, no, he has... It's 3-1, right? It's 3-1. He needs to win more game. Yes. It's still possible for Myralt to come back from this.
Yep, that was game 4. It's currently 3-1 Franskar to Myralt, and... Oh, I butchered that name right there, but Myralt. And Franskar doing very well. Just again and again, he's been able to push forward really aggressively, and I like that Myralt has been doing Lurkers. I like it that he's been trying to, but he's not been able to get them in the right position. And then when he's needed them in those positions he had them previously, they've always been out on a different side of the map attempting to be aggressive. He can be aggressive, but it's got to be much more in the middle of the map, or he's just got to know that his opponent is confined to 1-2 bases where there's no other way to go from those, no other way to get out from those Lurkers.
I think Myralt may be underestimating his opponent a little bit. He may be overly aggressive, thinking that he can get away with it, but Franskar has been really good at punishing Myralt's aggressiveness with some really good counterattacking and also some very effective defense. And he's also been finding the timings. It's really interesting to see the timings of Franskar's attacks. I know when you cast 2 players playing a best of 7, you're going to see a lot of similar game styles, you're going to see a lot of similar builds because they play what they're comfortable with. But it's also kind of cool to see the slight differences and also to see why they're doing the certain timings that they are. Getting into all the gritty details of everything is quite nice.
Yeah, definitely. And I just wanted to say again, like I was talking to you before, Ziphius, that you are a developer of this game, so you are the, you know all the stat-wise of things, and I love that you're like, wait a second, they can't consume larvae.
Yeah, I was really surprised about that. I'm gonna have to note that down. Actually, I don't know if that's.
I really enjoy game design and games, and I feel like that's the most fun thing you ever see is when someone else does something with your game you didn't expect, and you're like, wow, you took the time and figured that out. And it's like, well, it's really cool. So, yeah, and this next map is gonna be Cherry Castle. How does this match up to the balance of Circuit Breaker, Ziphius? Or Ziphius?
Cher Castle is a very interesting map. It's made by Kentuva, which I think you know who is. He's the awesome guy who put all the logos on these maps. And Cher Castle again is another 4-player map, which has the. It's fairly similar to a map called Fighting Spirit, which is basically one of the most popular Bid War maps that you have. It's built slightly differently. It has a mineral only third on the low ground, and it has the ramps to the third bases are slightly different, and the middle is very different, with a lot of ridges and stuff. So it plays out quite nicely. I see like before, all the best StarBow players would almost exclusively play on Fighting Spirit all the time. They're starting to move away from Fighting Spirit, and it's interesting to see what maps they're going to. And it seems that High Sparrow, which was the first map we cast, and Cherry Castle are the two maps they're kind of going to and playing a lot on now. So that's kind of their default maps they go to. So it's one of those. I think Cherry Castle can be one of those Fighting Spirit-esque maps. There's this map that everyone knows and everyone's played on a lot because it's so standard and it's so well made.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, I would say that both players are ready, so I think we're gonna get this game started.
Yeah, I'm just going to say definitely there's always this couple maps that everyone loves, but we're going to see you guys really shortly on possibly the final game in this best of 7. We will see you very soon.
ASL StarBow. You should be watching.
Welcome back, everyone, to possibly the final game of the night. Currently up by 3. It is 4-1. Currently up by 3. It is the pink Protoss player, Franskar.
And in the top left corner, can he come back from this? He has the possibility to do so, but he has to win 3 games in a row. It is from Sweden, the orange Zerg player, Myrolts.
The colors on this map are incredibly vivid.
This is such a beautiful map. This is like the cherry blossom garden from Japan. And you even see that big. The observer can see that sign there, the pink StarBow sign. It goes just a little bit south. There we go. If you can zoom in on that, that is a beautiful little sign made by the map maker Kentuva, and he actually is putting up those signs on all of the official ladder maps. Not all pink, of course, but to fit the style of the map. So he's pretty awesome with those things.
That is a really cool little thing. I love when there's little hidden Easter eggs on maps, things like that. But yeah, a lot of really cool stuff can happen. Franskar doing the normal Forged Fast expand as we've seen him. While Myrolt, opening up Hatch first, interestingly enough, it is a 4-player map. They are on cross spawns. But I would have kind of like... I kind of like the idea of Hatch first. Like you were saying, that maybe Myrold has kind of been underestimating Franskar, but still, I'm not 100% sure. I really would like him to win this game, though. See it come to a little bit closer.
Yeah, I think Myrold definitely have the potential to beat Franskar. We've seen him in many games. He's been ahead. He's been doing really well, and then there's been just small things that have tipped into Franskar's favor. There's usually, except for game 2, any victory that we've seen is the result of many, many good decisions throughout the game, and not just one final battle, which is one thing I really like about StarBow. And so it's really hard to say that he did this one thing right to win, or did this one thing wrong to lose. It's more of a... It's really difficult to analyze the games and say, oh, this is why he lost. Like, you need to really get into that. While in other games that might be like, oh, he lost this engagement, so he couldn't win.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like that little bit that there's been a lot of situations where one person will, their entire armor will be in the other opponent's main, like last, but you can still push it back. Not necessarily win, but you can push it back. It's not just one big game-deciding battle. But for now, Myrolt is going to be going for a really... I don't even know. I don't want to say it's a proxy hatch. It's just it's a ninja base. What was I looking
Yeah.
for? It's a quick ninja base right there, which I like, and his spawning pool is not even done yet. So if Franskar had perhaps opened a little differently, you could have seen some aggression. But for now, I mean, he's opened the same way he has in a lot of different situations, in almost all the games.
Merle is very used to playing versus Franskar. He knows that Franskar basically never goes for one base play, so he can get away with things like this. And like I said earlier, this third base is going for, although it may look like a ninja base, it is actually quite standard, because when you take an actual base like that on a 4-player map, you have that access to that their main base, but just defending the natural choke, which is much easier in StarBow than it is in StarCraft 2. But you do have to transfer workers all the way across the map, and yes, you do want to transfer them because, like I said earlier, having the initial 8 workers mining is super important. The rest of the workers are not giving as much as the first 8, so you want to make sure you have at least 8 workers on each base as soon as possible, and you don't just rally, but you actually physically transfer.
Yeah, and you're going to get the most payoff out of that. And as you were saying, 8 workers or 8 or 9 do. Actually, no, I think it's 8 because there's 8 patches. But 8 workers do get the most efficiency. And after that, everything's a little bit downhill from there. But because of that transfer, Franskar will spot that. And actually, he's going to spot this macro hatch. I like how it's like a blatant macro hatch. He's not even going to put it like at the back of his base. Like, I need a wall off. I'm going to do it. And he will be doing that macro hatch. And actually, he's going to be starting up Hydralisk speed. So this is kind of always been playing in previous games, but with this quick third, I think maybe he'll be able to make something happen. I'm curious to see how Franskar is going to respond, because it looks like he may go Stalkers again.
It's actually interesting that he's hiding the Hydrodon, because yes, the macro hatch was blatantly put there, and it's quite normal to do so as a part of a defensive wall. But you also actually usually put an Evo chamber and or a Hydralisk then to complete to make like just a small choke, and then so it's easy to defend with spine crawlers. But yeah, this is going to be a lot of Hydralisks incoming, and meanwhile, like you were saying, Franskar is going to go for that signature Stalker build that he was doing the first game and the third game. Well, he has won every time he's tried it, so he might win again.
Yep, and we do see Stalker speed coming out, but that's not going to be ready when these Hydralisks engage, and these Hydralisks may just barely, it depends on their angle on this wall, but they may barely outrange this wall, actually. And there's these 2 Zealots will push out, hopefully try to push some of these Hydralisks back, but they instantly realize the Lings are accompanying these Hydralisks, and they can't do it. But yes, the Hydralisks can focus down the Cybernetics core without being attacked, but now the Zealots will be engaging, and actually they go down really quickly. The Blink Stalkers can blink back, but Myrod has to be very careful because of this one cannon. Does kill the Hydralisks quite quickly.
Oh, gets canceling the cannon there. Interestingly enough, Myrod did go for the speed on the Hydralisk before the range. It's actually usual if you want to go for a bust like this that you get the range first so you can outrange. You can kill off these buildings without taking hits by the cannons, but Franskar realizing this, putting up some extra cannons, which is really smart. And the Stalker range is very soon complete.
Yeah, it will be soon. It will be completed pretty soonly. But actually, Hydralisk going for Stalkers, both fragile units, but the Hydralisk will do a lot of damage against them, but barely. Actually, Franskar will push this back. Yeah, he will, with some very nice Blink Micro. And now, interestingly enough, Myrod has a cool thing he can do. He can retreat up to this top right-hand corner or to the top left-hand corner and split up his army while still kind of being in a nice position right there. But still, he has a very nice contain on Franskar.
Because Stalkers are so mobile, it's really difficult to retreat effectively from them. If you have a smaller force in the Stalkers and you have to retreat, you might as well just stay and attack, because the Stalkers can just hunt you down so easily. So it's really important for Myrod now to just keep reinforcing this, because the second he starts losing, he's going to lose everything. So he's kind of in a tricky situation now where he has to keep reinforcing this position before there's too many Stalkers out.
Yeah, he does need to pressure this before there's too many Stalkers, and it's very scary. At the same time, there is no High Templar yet, neither is there Storm, so there's none of that really juicy area of effect damage that can get rid of the Lurkers. That Lurkers are about 50 seconds away, still not anywhere close, but finally actually is broken through the wall, and probes are being pulled here. How many probes will go down? There's 2 starting out, 3 going down, but combined with those probes, the Stalkers are able to push these back. Barely, I think, but still, Myrod is pushing up aggressively. Very aggressive. He has that +1, by the way, where Franskar is also at +1, so pretty even, but 6 workers killed. And I'm wondering how well this is working for Myrod. He is getting a little bit of damage done, but I think the biggest thing right here is he's just been resetting the Stalker counts again and again.
This is quite interesting. I'm surprised that Franskar held that. Yeah, I was thinking he was dead there for a moment, but Franskar actually has a decent amount of stalkers now, and now I think he can start to push across the map as long as he meets small pockets of Hydras. He can do just like that. And the Hydras can't really retreat unless they can meet up with their buddies and get a decent amount together.
Yeah, they have to be very careful. They need some lings to accompany them right here, but they're gonna catch a half of this Stalker army and be able to push it back. 1-2 Stalkers go down, and now Franskar's in a scary position. He will be able to blink back together, but his army was cut in half, and even more Hydras are coming out right now. We do see interesting Overlord speed. Some dropping from that, but Myralt is keeping a very nice contain here, where you do see Warp Prisms coming out for Franskar, though. Hopefully he's going to try to go for some drops in the main of the top right base.
It seems actually that he might be trying to add Reavers into his composition, because he did finish through support just for Warp Prism speed, but it might be. But right now he really needs some AoE to deal with this many Hydralisks. Just Stalkers are not going to cut it in the long run. Like some High Templars or some Zealots just to buffer, because the Zealots can take a lot more damage than the Stalkers can. But with all these cannons coming up and just the Stalker count, it seems that he might be able to stabilize. But yeah, like I was saying, one Reaver is actually on the way now, and if he can get this Reaver out, he should be able to defend versus Hydras much easier than it has been.
Oh yeah, it's just so much area of effect damage, and we've seen Myralt clump up a lot of his Hydralisks, but now he's just making sure there's no third base in the left-hand corner. He's trying to contain Franskar as much as he can, and it will be a big engagement here, but beautiful concave from Myralt, and he's got 4 cannons, he's got a nice position he can retreat back onto, but now finally, just barely, the Stalker Vision upgrade is down, so if they can push out of here, they may be able to get into a nasty position, whether it's in the main or in the main of the top right, but they're now a lot more versatile, and can actually defend a lot easier up into the main if they need to of their own base.
Oh, okay. This is an interesting game heart glitch here, where because the Reaver keep making interceptors, and the game heart is trying to show us that, but interceptors doesn't have an icon in game heart, so Reaver just gets an interesting. Oh well, that's what happens. But this is actually very interesting because Myralt is making Vipers, and the Vipers can cast the Ensnare, which not only slows down the Stalkers, but it prevents them from being able to blink. So this is a soft counter to the Stalkers. So it's going to make it very difficult for Franskar to escape from his base, and I think Myralt is in a much better position right now than has been in any of the other games that he's come this far in, although the Reaver may be able to say something about that.
Yeah, I really like this decision to get Vipers. Maybe he should have done that in the previous games. It does allow him to lock down these Stalkers, which have been the reason why, or not necessarily the reason, but have done a lot of damage to him in previous games. But now he's got a beautiful Lurker Concave here, and the Reavers, yes, they're there. They can start working on these Hydras, but there's actually, sadly, there's not an observer with this main army. Big hit does go down in the Hydras.
Yeah, it was a pretty big scare pit. The targeted Hydra just moved into the center of the army, just making sure the maximum damage there, which was quite unfortunate. But the Observer is out now, so Reavers deal with Lurkers very well because they do outrange them.
Yeah, they do barely outrange them, but for now, actually, Myralt will completely pull back. And there's still those Vipers. I'd almost like to see one of the Vipers maybe hang around, see if he can get just a nice stop on any of these Stalkers. But for now, Franskar actually, with that vision down on the low ground and everything, will be moving out. And as I was mentioning, he's got that high ground vision. He's got a Warp Prism. He's going to be able to do a lot of damage into the natural and the main of this top right-hand base. And it's going to get scary.
Wow, if you look at the production tab, one Spire and one Greater Spire coming in for Myralt with 5 Mutalisks. He's probably going to go for Guardians here, which could be very interesting in this position.
Yeah, it could be very interesting. A big Ensnare actually goes down onto these Stalkers. They cannot blink. Only 4 Stalkers are left, and actually almost the entire army negated. Now, did the Reavers die in that too? I think they did.
Yeah, he caught the Warp Prism with the Reavers, and it was a very nice engagement from Myralt there, actually pushing back Franskar completely, and Myralt is really in a dominant position in this game now. If he can get those Guardians coming, 5 of them morphing in right now, on a beautiful position by the natural base there, a little bit to the left from the Observer is looking right now, then he should be able to siege that area very nicely with the 10 ranged Guardians.
Yeah, these Guardians are going to be able to do a ton of damage here, and Myralt has been able to keep Franskar on this one. Myralt has been able to keep Franskar on just 2 bases for so long, so there's only one base really where they contain. This is working so well for Myrtle here. And finally, they're starting to do the damage, and the Stalkers realize it, blink forward. But now that may have been a bad idea because the Hydra's coming on the right-hand side. There is only one Viper here, and Snare doesn't actually go down yet, just kind of hanging about. But just everything going down in that beautiful concave. But Myrtle cannot push in to these photon cannons yet. Now there's no vision on high ground. Myrtle brings it to 3-2.
GG. Yeah, very well played there from Myrtle, countering his opponent's style perfectly, and I think he's been learning from the previous games, although both players played very different styles there than they did the first games, although Myrtle played most differently. That's a great sentence, isn't it?
Yeah, Myrtle really, he switched it up a little. As I was mentioning, in previous games, he's got a lot of Hydra Lurker Ling, and then mixed in some Defilers. Well, I liked that. Just each game, he was unable to shut down those Stalkers, which got some damage done in different places, and really threw him off in that early game where he was trying to get pressure done. But with this game, he decided to go Vipers, which I really like as the idea you got in Snare. You can just shut down all those Stalkers, and he was able to catch, those two
Reavers, yeah. And that was
Reavers, a decent amount of Stalkers, and just completely shut him down.
That was a very important point in that game, killing those Reavers. Like, Franskar invested so much into those Reavers, and losing those, very, very bad for him. Was it good? No, it was bad.
Yep, it was not good for him at all. And by the way, just a quick shout out to the lovely co-caster Ziphius, and just a shout out also to StarBow Mod. If you want to look at more things about StarBow, if you want to do some research, go over to starbowmod.com. And then if you want to follow them on Twitter, it's also StarBow Mod, I believe. And they tweet whenever they're doing stuff. Lots of really cool stuff at StarBow Mod. You want to find them there. And I am at Drennoc, that is DRENNOC. I normally cast a lot of just StarCraft 2, but now I guess getting into StarBow, and this is only technically my second cast and like my fourth or fifth time seeing the game. So I'm learning. I'm learning a lot as I'm going, and I'm enjoying it.
If you want to hear Drennoc cast a StarBow game, you can actually go over to my YouTube channel.
Oh wait, that was like the worst StarBow game. Like I don't even know what we were doing right there.
No, but it was a good game though. So although your casting may be slightly inexperienced, being your first game, it was a good game. So I wanted to. I actually have that on my YouTube channel now because I wanted to get it on there. So if you go to, it's called StarBow Official YouTube channel. Just search for StarBow Official. The latest cast there is me and Drennoc casting a game, and both players are ready. We're going to play on Fighting Spirit, which is basically the most common Brood War map ever made. Maybe next to Python and Lost Temple, but it's right now it's really the most played one.
It's summer though. There also is the winter one, and I've seen both, and I like both of them, just texture palette wise.
Yeah, and it's actually there's a spring and an autumn has been made too, so we can seasonally change them in the ladder pool.
Oh,
so
that's cool. We're gonna see you guys for Game 5 of this best of 7 in just a couple.
ASL StarBow. You should be watching.
ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to StarBow. Welcome to Fighting Spirit. In this best of 7, we're currently on Game 6, and spawning in the top left corner, currently up 3-2 as the Pink Protoss player, it is Franskar.
His opponent in the top right-hand corner, it is the orange Zerg player. Brought it back last game. Can he do it again? It's the one, the only, Myralt. Or Miralt.
Klappa. Alright, he's
Klappa?
Swedish.
Is that like half clap, half kappa?
Yeah, kind of. It's a Swedish thing, so I have to say that. It's actually, I think it was okay, this is a small tangent here, but I was speedrunning a game during a Swedish speedrunning marathon, and that was like the Twitch chat was going klappa all the time instead of kappa because they were clapping for the runs as well. So I don't remember exactly the whole story behind that, but we do have a very different opening here from Franskar going for a 2-gate, and it's gonna put on some pressure on his opponent.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for this. Every other game Franskar has opened up unlike this. He's done a Forge Fast Expand. This game he's going with that double gate. So I'm really excited. Going to utilize this and how we're going to see Myralt be able to just counter it in general, because Myralt he's done aggressive openers, but is it aggressive enough to actually defend this? I'm not sure. We're going to see how he defends.
It's actually quite nice for Franskar, because this is a 14 pool from Myralt, which is slightly late. He's been seeing Forge Fast Expand from his opponent every single game, and he's been almost blindly putting down that fast third hatch across the map or at some other location. So this might take him off guard. Also, Franskar can risk playing a little bit differently because he is up one game. So he can lose this, but now Myralt spots this. He wants to throw down a Spinecrawler immediately at his natural and then swarm out as many Zerglings as he can, but he can't because he doesn't have his spawning pole complete.
Yeah, neither does he have any queens, because he has no spawning pool, but he will not be able to force out a lot of units quickly. Those zealots starting to work at the natural base, but all the drones pull back into the main base spawning pool a couple of seconds away from being able to push out those lings. He does have 300 minerals, but how many larvae does he actually have? He only has 5 larvae, so it's not that much. Spine crawlers are very effective though. 2 spine crawlers going down, 1 is cancelled actually. There's still the spine crawlers desperately trying to get down. There's the 4 lings, but can 4 lings defend against 3 zealots? I'm not sure. This is getting very dicey. 10 more lings coming out. It's currently 3-2, guys, so Franskar can pull this off. That is our Zealot and our Protoss player here. He's going to win it, but still, it's going back and forth. How is Myralt going to deal with it?
I think he's just going to have to accept the fact that he's going to lose his natural and just try to defend his main and then try to slowly come back from there. We have Zealots hiding in the trees now, but yeah, he has a Spinecrawler in his main, which is very nice because losing your natural in this situation is almost inevitable with how late that spawning pool was. So Franskar, I don't think he can do much in the main base, but he doesn't really need to. He just needs to keep his opponent on one base for quite some time and then take his own natural, and he should be just fine.
Yeah, definitely. Right now, Myralt still is just barely defending. Can he hold this? It's still scary. There's no queens started. Obviously, queens are not quite as good in StarBow, but you can have those injects, and those injects are very, very good. And finally now, maybe a Zealot will go down. A little bit of surround Myralt is able to achieve here, but still, it's coming back and forth, back and forth. One saving grace, though, is Franskar's not taken his natural yet.
You actually do need gas to get your queens here. So that's why
yeah, good point.
Yeah. So, but he's trying to... Oh, I like this. He's trying to both sneak out some Zerglings. He wants to counterattack, but he wants to be careful because he only has 1 Spinecrawler left at home, and this is a lot of Zealots. And at the same time, he's also sneaking out an expansion. So this is... If he can defend his main and keep his expansion hidden, it might be really good since his opponent is not expanding yet.
Oh, nice. 1 Zealot does go down, was sniped by that Spinecrawler. It's still, Ling's having a hard time dealing with these Zealots, and he's like, you can't come down the ramp. And like you were saying in previous games, you really want to be able to transfer 8 drones instantly to these ninja bases. But he cannot do that because of the Zealots here, and just because of, well, it's going to be spotted even if the Zealots weren't right there.
And he can't push the creep either. He doesn't have any queens, so this Spinecrawler can't deal with the Zealots on the ramp. And 3 Zealots on a ramp like that is incredibly difficult to break for Zergling. So right now, Myralt is mostly stuck in his main base. He's going to have to use whatever larvae he has to at the other base. Man, my English sometimes just stops working.
It's very good, and my English is really bad, and it's like, but my English and your English are probably about the same, and I'm like a native speaker, so it sucks. By the way, am I going in and out at all sound wise?
You were at sometimes. It's usually like at the very end of a game or like in between games, and not usually during a game. So that's good.
Okay, fantastic. All right, now actually the